Hey fam, hey, welcome back to my channel. Y'all, we are here. We are at Sister Wives, season 17, episode 13, Corona Apocalypse. Now, first of all, I'm going to just say I don't understand why they called it this, but we're going to go ahead and jump into it. Now, last week we were reminded that Cody believes that men don't love women who don't respect them. Now, I get that, and I even confirmed it with my fiance, and he said it's true. They really do expect respect if they're going to love you back. But he asked a question that I'm sure I've thought of, but he just sort of brought it back to the front of my mind. What would I not be doing for you to then lose respect for me? Like, what is my shortcoming that then makes you look at me as someone you can't respect? All right, y'all, we're going to jump into it. Meet me after the jingle. All right, so we start this episode off where Truly shows up for a visit at Robin and Cody's house. And guess what? This week we finally get to see the inside of the castle. So apparently Truly made it over the moat, no alligators got her, and she pulls up and arrives at her dad's house to visit. Now, I'm not sure if that's because the cameras were there that they allowed us to come in and see the inside of the house, and they have to keep up appearances that Truly gets to come and visit, and that she actually does get to sleep inside, or what. But I don't know if you noticed, if you looked as the cameras were panning over the patio, there were two chairs sitting there. I am thoroughly convinced that that's actually where Truly's going to probably sleep, but no. We finally do get to see the inside of Robin's house. Cody asks if Truly is staying the night, and let me tell you, the way Truly said no, that no came from the inner crevices of her soul. It had bass, it had bravado. Child, it had a whole A purpose. She wanted to make sure that he knew. She planned it so much that she was not staying the night that she didn't even pack her pajamas. She said, Mom said it was up to me. He said, okay, well then I guess, we could just have you wear a big t-shirt if you decide to stay. Now this is obviously the dress code because when Ariella runs outside to meet Truly as she's pulling up, she has on a big t-shirt. Truly meant that. She was not staying. Now, if you noticed, I thought it was Robin when I first watched the episode that kept asking Truly questions about, are you coming over to play? Are you going to hang out? You're going to hang out a little bit? But then as we look a little bit further into the clip, I noticed that it's her daughter, Brianna, I believe, who is holding the camera. Not Brianna. I'm sorry. What is her daughter's name? Aurora. Sorry. Aurora is holding the camera and filming everything. So maybe it was Aurora who was asking her if she was going to hang out and stay over, which means this begs the question, where was Robin? Right? You also notice that Brianna is kind of standing away from the situation, arms folded, not really sure how to react to Truly. So she just kind of stays out of the way. And I am noticing that she is the most like her mother. I mean, both of those girls are, but she is turning out to be the most like her mother, Robin. Now, Robin says, I haven't talked to Truly about what's going on. They're too young. She doesn't need to be worried about that. But here's my take on that. I think you haven't talked to her directly about what's going on, but you have obviously had a conversation in enough earshot that she knew to ask Christine why she was breaking up with her dad. And then to retell the story of what is going on in your home like a well-rehearsed telenovela in her couch interview 2 weeks back. So you've been talking about it to somebody where she can hear you, right? We again get insight, I guess, on how Ariella behaves at school because she tackles Truly at one point and tries to pick her up. And Cody's like, no, you don't need to do that. You don't need to try to pick her up or anything. And, they're like, calm down, whatever. So this just kind of gives me more insight to the very first day of school when the teacher called and said she was bothering the little girl or being extra helpful. And then Ariella tells the story that she was bothering her. So yeah, she's a little bit of a space hog. Like she doesn't really understand spatial awareness and that you don't break someone's bubble without asking permission. So yeah. So we get out of Robin's house and we move on to the conversation that we have been sort of waiting to see. It happens at Fat Olives, which is obviously a local Flagstaff restaurant. And I have heard about this restaurant before. And this is where the showdown takes place. Janelle tries to be very positive, and she starts out by saying it's just so much fun to be out and to get a chance to eat out. And of course, before he gives his response, Cody checks to make sure the camera's in perfect position and goes, well, yeah, I'm having a great time. This is great. I'm having fun. They talk about Janelle's kids coming for Thanksgiving, and Cody is coming from his usual place of no. And he says, well, there are things that have to be worked out before we can even talk about that or before they can come. Janelle then just decides, you know what, I'm going to cut this off at the pass. I don't really want to have this conversation with you. And she goes, I'm just going to go to Maddie's house. I haven't seen her and been there for Thanksgiving since like 2000, before the COVID. And so I'm just going to do that and then be here for Christmas. And of course, Cody, who's been waiting to pounce verbally on Janelle, probably since Christine left, says that he basically wants to talk about these things. It's not just about them coming, but to set up to say that there are troubles in the relationship that he needs to have worked out before they come, because he's not going to sit up and pretend that, none of this is happening, and he's not going to have anybody over to his house that has animosity against him or someone close to me, and as Janelle puts it, aka Robin. He also thinks that Garrison should reach out to him and make amends. He says that he doesn't want an apology, but then your own Princess Robin, uses the words apology. I didn't know that Cody was telling the boys they needed to apologize to me. I don't want that. I just want to, clear the air. So you have used the word apology. You have told Robin, I'm going to see that the boys apologize to you for being so mean and hurting your feelings. Robin, of course, tells us that she's gotten texts about what's happening in the family and that it's her fault. Well, here's the thing, Robin, that we're all saying that. And if we had your phone number, we would probably text you too, is really what it comes down to. You talked a little bit about how there was this explosion in your family and some bomb that has gone off. And I said in one of my last videos that you were the bomb. You were the bomb at the end of season 1 that exploded in this family. And you are still the bomb that is exploding in this family. Like, this is the bomb that keeps on giving. And the kids are just now old enough to realize that it was you. And they now have minds of their own and your phone number, and they're just using both. Right? We can never truly believe, though, what Robin says, because she is like the verbal spin master of this show. So I don't know if she's really getting texts or not, if it's about the family, or if they just was like, hey, I just wanted to find out if we could come hang out with the kids. And she turned that into, I'm getting texts about blowing up the family. Okay. I mean, I want space for now turned into she wants nothing to do with me and my kids. Right. Janelle realizes that he is upset and that her boys have treated Robin badly. I don't think they've treated Robin badly, though. I think they just realized that Robin was the cause of what's going on, and they probably just don't say a whole lot to her. I don't think that they treated her badly. He has a member of the family who is loyal, and he and Janelle can have that too if she will be loyal or basically be like Robin. And she's already told us, I'm not going to become Robin. I'm not going to do it. It's not what I signed up for. You didn't marry me. Robin wasn't here when I got here. Don't expect me to turn into her just because that's what you like. Janelle is frustrated that he sees Robin as this poor little girl trapped in a tower who is so perfect and needs to be treated with kid gloves. And that's exactly what Janelle saw when she first came in. If you remember, she sat in a couch interview with all of the wives and said that she really didn't like that Robin played this damsel in distress act. And I do remember at that time that Robin kind of laughed at that, because I think either she thought Janelle was joking or she was okay with being seen that way. He sees loyalty as survival for her, right? Let me say that a different way. What he sees as loyalty from Robin seems to be what I see as survival from Robin. Robin knows that in order to get certain things and to get the first wife privileges, you have to behave a certain way. She does not want to lose those privileges, so she behaves that certain way. Janelle doesn't need those things, therefore is not going to behave in that way. This is the creepy part about that whole thing, is that it's the manipulation of it all for me, and he can't even see it. But even if he did see it, I don't think he would care, because both of their needs are being met in this really twisted way, right? He gets to feel like the king of his household, the patriarch that's the head of the family, and she gets all the perks, the mansion on the hill, the 4-door house that her kids can go trick-or-treating at, the cars, the money, the property that she has her name on that she can then leave to her kids. Wow. I love the question that Janelle asks next. She says, if the roles were reversed, would you be this defensive of me? And I notice this look that he gives her, almost as if to say in his head, I would never have to do that because Robin would never treat anybody like you've treated. So he decides to deflect and gaslight, and he says, you've been acting like a single woman all through our marriage. Now, this was something that Cody in earlier seasons had admiration for. He praised her for it. She was the one who took care of the finances. She went out to work. She made money. And now this is a problem for him because it goes against this new stance that he's taken to be the head of his home and to have his wives bow and scrape to him. Again, it's just the setup for her to leave or for him to say it's not working. I feel like the word independence is Cody's kryptonite. I really do, right? And then he does something which is so narcissistic and really kind of ticked me off. He uses the word invites to say that he invites her to get to a place where her loyalty basically matches Robin. Here's the definition of loyalty. Loyal and faithful to one's sovereign or state. But here's the definition I think he's working from, which is not the definition of loyalty. He's working from a definition of dictatorship, in which power is held by one dictator. Then he says, maybe this doesn't work. Now, this is the same thing he said to Mary. It's the same thing that he said to Christine, and now he's saying it to Janelle. Then Janelle says, maybe we're not compatible, right? Now, Janelle still sees Cody as her best friend, her lover, and she even reinforces that she and Cody were okay in all facets of the relationship up until now. And although none of it is my business, I have a hard time believing that all facets of the relationship were okay. I really don't believe that. I think that they need to say that so that she can, unfortunately, do something that I wouldn't expect Janelle would think to have to do, which is to kind of save face. But she did do it. Cody says that for him, the ship is emotionally sinking. Janelle is not one to throw in the towel on a marriage, but this tells me that if you're saying that you're not one to throw in the towel on a marriage, it means that you've actually thought about it and that you might be one to kind of step aside. You might not throw in the towel, but you're going to maybe fight and fight and fight until you have no fight left. But I have to say, Janelle, if someone keeps saying that something doesn't work, or if they keep saying that you're not as close, or being close to you is an overstatement, or that there's more questions than answers, it seems like that is the breakup song to me. And Cody, that's why she thinks you're singing it. Janelle has lots of affection for Cody, but doesn't know if it's love, though. And in asking for a reset, he responds with wanting to eat before his food gets cold. Man, damn that food. Get a takeout box and have the queen wife heat it up for you when you get home in one of those double ovens in your chef's kitchen. If I'm out with my fiance and I ask him for a reset, and he says to me, well, I want to eat before my food gets cold, and then we could talk. There will be no food on the table or plate for him to eat because it will probably end up across the room, if not upside his head. Although, again, this channel does not promote violence. He, of course, then starts to name those things that she's done that makes her a single woman. He brings up renting or buying the RV, going to see her kids without asking him if she can do so. The dogs on the bed is a hot button issue. Basically, it is a symptom of a bigger issue, right? Because none of those things are worth ending a marriage or saying a marriage doesn't work. These are all the things on your list that make it easier for you in the future to walk away? Because you've already said, maybe this doesn't work. So you're putting the idea out there. Now you're giving us the list of why you are going to say in the future you don't want to be in this marriage. So she just, balls up. She bosses up and she says, okay, do you not want plural marriage anymore? And he goes, yeah, I pretty much question it every day. And she comes back with what I think was mic drop upon mic drops, fire response, and says, yeah, me too. I had to really think about it in the last year about if it worked. I don't think he expected that answer from her. I don't think he expected to hear that she had been thinking about walking away also, right? He now knows that Christine had been thinking about it, although he, I think, knew that before because we knew before. And I think that for him to hear Janelle is thinking about the same thing, because remember, Janelle has walked away before and stayed away for a few months or either 2 years. It was either a few months or 2 years. I'd have to go back to the book and look. But she did leave the family for a while. And so it's not that she won't do it. It's just that she hasn't done it again. But maybe that time is coming. I hope it's coming, right? So then he turns a question on her and says, can you tell me why it's easier to have a relationship with Christine and not with Robin? Okay, this was my favorite question because I have what I would like to have been the response. If I could have written a response for Janelle, it would be, yes, there is a reason. Christine is not a whiny little princess. Christine did not come into this family breaking the rules, like kissing before you were married, being physical before you were married, right? Christine did not bring debt and extra children into this marriage. Christine did not lie about a very personal experience of picking out a wedding dress, but Robin did. Christine has never called our kids jerks for not being happy that she was having a baby, but Robin did. Christine actually contributed to the family as the stay-at-home mom and teacher, and then we find out had to go to work at night when you wouldn't come help her tuck the kids in, right? Christine has done all these things for the family that have helped the family. But Robin brings us debt from a retail underwear store that we have to pay off, and she still doesn't contribute. And hangs signs on the fridge that unless you ask her, you can't get any food. That just made me think back to Cody when he wanted to build the one big house. He said, I'm going to have a house with a kitchen full of food so that you can come in and raid my refrigerator and you don't have to raid any of the other moms' refrigerators. That's because Robin whined too much about that. They probably kept taking food and she thinks that her poor babies are going to starve. So he decided he was going to fix that issue for her. And in his house, or in his part of this one house, he was going to have a refrigerator. Should have all been together from the beginning. Wasn't that Robin's tagline in the earlier seasons of this show? I bet that tune has changed now. But, of course, Janelle, being politically correct, says, I think it's just history and time together and no real time with Robin because she kind of set herself apart, which is basically translation for she didn't want to be around us. She wanted to be monogamous all the time. She wanted to act like she wanted other wives, but she wanted to be the queen wife. She wanted to be separate, and now she's got her wish. He again tries to put everything on Christine, and Janelle reminds him that they all played a part, right? And that she won't validate his feelings in this, which is something he wants. So he keeps putting on about how Janelle is not caring about him, but she cares about Christine, who he now calls his ex-wife. And so he apparently doesn't realize that you don't have to be common enemies. She can support you, she can support Christine, and not take a side. But you are kind of showing her, Cody, the side that she should be taking, which is Christine's, because it's the side we're taking. So moving into the corona-apocalypse part of this episode, Robin and Brianna both have COVID, Dayton got it, and then so did the little ones, I believe, and they figure that it came from school. It is in the couch interview that we see how the daughters have been completely molded into carbon copies of Robin, right? But at least Aurora was smart enough to hole up in her basement room, and keep from getting it. Gabe comes on the scene and he breaks our hearts because he talks about how Cody called him and asked him about his COVID, but did not say happy birthday. I guess this is, Cody trying to see if maybe Gabe was the one who brought it around or whatever. Like, I kind of got that, but maybe not. I might be reaching, but who knows? But no matter. He forgot his son's birthday. And Gabe says that he did try to call back a second time, but it was the last time that he talked to his dad. Since then, he hasn't talked to him. Shame on you, Cody. Absolutely shame on you. This is again where the crashing together of my being mad came together, and we see Robin being taken to the hospital by her knight in shining armor. And he even wanted to admit himself to be near her and admits that he'd be playing sick. But you give Gabe a phone call to check on his COVID. You wouldn't go near your other children during COVID. You didn't go with your daughter to the hospital for a major surgery. And I remember you saying to your boys that if Janelle got sick with COVID, you would be the one that had to take care of her, but you didn't. Robin says that she's afraid to leave her kids, which is basically her fear-based mentality monologue that she always gives us. But she doesn't want to say goodbye to her kids. But when I looked at this episode and I saw you laying in the hospital, I, of course, don't want anyone to have COVID or suffer from COVID. But I didn't see any oxygen that they hooked you up to make sure that you could breathe a little bit better. You were taking pretty good breaths. But when you talked to Cody, you were apparently wasting away. She says that the doctor comes in, checks her lungs, and says that it sounds like COVID is in them. I didn't know that COVID had a sound. I mean, the only sound that I could imagine him hearing was congestion, which is what comes along with COVID. But congestion comes along with a lot of other coughing, breathing, colds, flu. But they did obviously say that you had COVID. But I didn't know COVID had a sound. So it's all, again, your dramatic acting moments, I think, that you're taking. Coda says that he started to get worse and he started to feel like something more than brain fog. He felt like it was stupidity. Cody, it wasn't brain fog that you were feeling. It wasn't brain fog that made you depressed. It wasn't brain fog that is making you act like a complete asshat. It is the loss of control that you so desperately wanted to force on your wives, and they won't let you, right? Christine didn't let you. You're suffering from that loss of control over someone. And let me tell you, that can probably feel like the flu. That can probably feel like COVID. It can probably feel like brain fog, but it's simply loss of control. Then we see Brianna demonstrate her acting skills from the Robin Brown School of Acting, describing how her dad is usually happy but is now depressed. I'm sorry. Well, I have two problems with that. Number one, I haven't seen Cody happy since moving to Flagstaff, honestly. And number two, Brianna, dear, you forgot the dab on the outside corner of your eyes with the tissue. Next time you do that, and we might believe that you're a little sad. They decided this year that they're going to celebrate Halloween and they're going to let the kids go trick-or-treating. But where they're going to trick-or-treat is at the 4 doors of their house and into the back of their car in the backyard. Surprise, surprise. The costumes that Cody and Robin choose are King Tut and Cleopatra. I'm going to just leave that there. For next week, they have one more circle conversation. Janelle does not want this to be a Christine bashing session because it usually turns into that. But she does say that her boys don't feel welcome. And Sass makes another appearance and asks with her snooty attitude, when have they not felt welcome? Cody begins to throw a temper tantrum and Janelle says, oh, no, you didn't. You will not talk to me like you did Christine. She might have let you get away with that and she handled it with grace. But bruh, you don't know me like that. Y'all, you thought Janelle got loud last week. Don't let her turn around when you tell her not to walk away because you don't know what you might be grappling with. You might get one to the body, two to the head. If I were grading this episode, I would give it an 80%. Mostly because it was a lot of the same that we're used to with Cody, a lot of the talking head, blaming it on Christine, not knowing what's going on with himself, all of that, blah, blah, blah. I did, however, like that Janelle is starting to admit that a thing is a thing and that this thing is quickly coming to a close. And as one of my subscribers said last week, it's okay to root for this marriage to end because I said I'm not in the business of rooting for marriages to be over, but this marriage where she's not happy and when you're thinking that, that your marriage is sinking or your husband's telling you that maybe this isn't working. Like those are all negative things. And dogs in the bed are just a minor issue in something much, much bigger. Okay. If you've made it this far, go ahead and help a sister out and hit that subscribe bell. Also hit the notification bell so that you know when I put up new content. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Remember, if there's anything you want to do, go ahead and do it. Don't let anybody stop you. I love doing what I do because I love talking to you. Until next time, roll bounce.